Hi there and welcome to the screencast. In the screencast, I'm going to be going over some of the concepts pertaining to Visual Studio and doing binary decimal conversions. And these are the things that are going to be on the quiz on Thursday or Friday. So the first thing you need to know is that Visual Studio is what is called an integrated development environment, and that is abbreviated IDE. So that's the type of software that Visual Studio can be classified as. And IDEs are software packages that are used by software developers to develop other software packages. Okay, then you want to know a few of the programming languages that can be used with Visual Studio, and we can look at some of them by going in Visual Studio, going to File, New Project, and it'll give you a choice of the programming languages. So you'll see Visual Basic, Visual C Sharp, Visual F Sharp, and Visual C++. You also see JavaScript and Python and Android and iOS and Monogame. There's just a whole host of languages. Until Visual Studio 2015, the only ones were F Sharp, C Sharp, and C++, but now they've opened Visual Studio up to so that you can use it for other languages as well. And Visual F Sharp, C Sharp, and C++ are known as they're the .NET programming languages, and the .NET framework are the APIs that, or the sort of the under the hood infrastructure that interfaces between a program you write and Microsoft Windows. So that's what the .NET programming languages are. So Visual C Sharp projects are also referred to as solutions. Okay, sometimes Visual Studio uses that interchangeably, the word solution and project. For example, if you want to make a new project, you go to File, New Project. However, you have Solution Explorer, and there are other parts where they're referred to as solutions. So those are synonymous terms. When you're saving a project you've been working on, you should always do save all, because if you just save a single file and make changes to it, it may mess up your entire program and it may become corrupted, and then you'll have to restore it from a backup, and you may lose some changes that you've made. So you always want to keep your projects on the Z drive. That way they'll be backed up by me and I'll be able to grade them. The acronym GUI, capital GUI, stands for Graphical User Interface, and that's essentially what the user sees and the components they will use on the monitor to interact with your program. Okay, to run a program while you're debugging it or in Visual Studio, you go to the debug menu and then you do start debugging. So let me open a Visual Studio project so we can see that. So I'm going to go to, let's see, debug and start debugging. I can also click on this start button that's on the toolbar right here, or I believe F5 is a shortcut key. Alright, to make an executable file of your program once it works correctly and you're pretty confident that it's a quality product, you're going to go to build and then you do build selection. So let's see, why is it not? It doesn't seem to be. Let me open this form. All right, there you go. It's actually build. The second item is build, and then the name of the project. This one's called Sopco Web Browser. So that's the one I would select. And what that does is it will create an executable file, place it in the bin folder of the project, which of course should be on your Z drive. All right, so some of the ways to open a project, recent projects and solutions is a great way if you're using the same computer. That's a very convenient way. You can also do File, Open Project, and then browse for the file or the project. And the file that you're actually looking for is called, has an SLN extension. So like here's arithmeticquizgame.sln. So SLN is the key file that you're looking for, and if you're in Windows Explorer and double click on the SLN file, Visual Studio will be launched simultaneously with your project. So that's sometimes the way I actually launch Visual Studio and a specific project. The easiest way to take your code home with you is really on a flash drive. That way you can just stick it in your home computer, open the project, make changes to it. They'll automatically be saved on the flash drive. You won't have to copy the files onto your home computer and then vice versa. You can do it with Google Drive. It's a little more complicated and there's a lot of chance for error because you have to upload the entire project, download it to your computer, then upload the changed project, and then download it again at school. So really, if you don't have a flash drive, I can lend you one. I have like 7 or 8 on hand, and I trust you that will return it. Okay, Solution Explorer. The Solution Explorer pane in Visual Studio will show you all the files that are associated with your project, and it will also show like image files as well. The form1.cs file is the one that will have your GUI, and you will also that contains your code. So that's the one you want to double click on if you're not seeing your GUI. Like so, let me close the designer here, and I'm now going to click on form1.cs, and that will open the GUI. And then if I go to View Code, that will open the code window that's associated with the GUI. And you can tell it is because it says public partial class form1. Form1 is the name of the file, so you know that you've opened the correct one. Alright, so what happens if you open Visual Studio and you don't see anything at all? You just see something blank. So I go to File, Open Project, I open my project, and this is what I see. What should you do? You should go to the View menu, and then you should do, let's see, Solution Explorer. That will bring up Solution Explorer. Then if you click on Form 1, you'll see your form again. And then if you want to make changes to your GUI, you would display the toolbox. And then you may also want to see the properties window. That will show you the properties of each control item, meaning button, text box, radio button, label, etc. that you've added to the GUI. All right, so don't panic if you don't see anything. So the design view shows you your GUI basically, and you can tell it's the design view. It'll be tabbed by default in the middle of the screen in Visual Studio, and it'll have design in brackets. And it'll give you the name of your form, which will be Form 1 since we're not changing them. So the toolbox menu is over here, or toolbox pane, I should say, not the menu, and it's a palette of control objects, meaning the things the user will control the program with, that you can add to your GUI. Okay, so and you just basically click and drag one over. You can also copy and paste them over. It's pretty easy to design one, and Visual Studio is WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get. So your form will appear exactly as it does in the design view, as long as your code doesn't make any changes to it when the program launches. Okay, 3 types of control objects: buttons, labels, and text boxes are the most common ones. You also have menu strips. Well, if you look at the list for all Windows forms, any of those are control objects. All right, then the properties window is used to change the properties of an item. And to change the properties of a control object, you click on it once, its properties will come up in the properties menu, and then you make changes there. If you double click on the control instead of single clicking on it, the code window will come up, and some code will be added to your project, which we'll get into next week. You can't make changes to your code when it is running, so don't try to. And finally, if you get an error message, message pops up when you're trying to run your code that says that there are errors in it. Do you want to run the last working version? You want to say no. You should go and fix the syntax errors in your code and then run it. All right, so that is the portion of this concerning Visual Studio. Now I'm going to take a little break, and due to the magic of television, or I guess screencasting, I will flip my tablet into its convertible mode, and then I'll do a few binary decimal conversions just to refresh your memory. All right, so it looks like I've been forgetting to say the secret sentence. I've just realized that. So I'm going to have to hurry it up and tell you a bunch of the words all at once. And right now the words are I really like. Okay, so the first three words are I really like. All right, stay tuned for more screencast. All right, thanks to the magic of screencasting, I am back, and I'm going to do a binary to decimal conversion and a decimal to binary conversion. So let's start with going from binary to decimal. So let's say I have the number 10110011. So the way I'm going to convert that into a decimal value is I'm going to, underneath each binary bit, which we have an 8-bit binary number here, I'm going to write what the value of that place value is. So this is going to be the 2 to the zeros, 2 to the first, 2 squareds, 2 cubes, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, 2 sixths, and 2 to the sevenths, which are the 2s, the 4, nope, I'm sorry, the 1s, the 2s, the 4s, the 8s, the 16s, the 32s, the 64s, and the 128s. Now you just go down the line, and in each place value, if there's a 1 there, you add that value, that power of 2, to your total, and then at the very end you add up everything, and that's your binary number, or your decimal value. So in this one, I have a 128, I have a 32, I have a 16, I have a 2, and I have a 1. So let's add those together, and I believe you get 179. Okay, so that is your value. 179, 1011, 0011 in binary. All right, so now let's go the other direction. We will start with the decimal value, and we'll write that decimal value in binary. So let's do this. Next word in tonight's sentence is Mr. Hayden's. It's Mr. Hayden's, or I guess that's kind of two words, but Mr. Hayden's. All right, moving on. Okay, so let's say I'm going to start with 137. All right, so what I do is I go from left to right. I look and I say, are there any of that place value in the number? And there's either going to be just one or none. If there's one, you subtract out that place value and you move on with the new number. So if I take 137 and I look and I say, are there any 128s in 137? Yes, there's one. So I put a 1 in that place, and then I subtract, and I get 9. Then I keep going on down the line. Do I have any 64s in 9? No. neither do I have any 32s, 16s. I do have an 8, so I'm going to put a 1 there, and I'm going to subtract out 8, and now I'm down to 1, and in 1 I don't have any 4s, so I put a 0. I don't have any 2s, I put a 0. Finally, there is 1 in 1, and then you're all done. You have your binary version of the number. So in this case, 137 is 10001001. All right, the final few words in tonight's secret sentence are computer science class. That is computer science class. All right, hope this was helpful. Someone watched it, and get a good night's sleep tonight or tomorrow night, and we'll see you in class on Thursday or Friday, depending if I have you on A or B day. All right, cheers.